Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a very, very special show. First and foremost, let me wish you all Khushali Mubarak on the Wiladat of Imam Hassan al Askari. Today is a very special show. We're going to be talking about obviously the great hadith from Imam, the teachings about his life and everything that he's sort of given to us. And I'm actually joined today by two very, very special brothers, you know. One brother I'm sure you know, Brother Nazir.
Assalamu alaikum.
You know, you've seen him in shows such as BLT, you know, many other shows as well. And we also have, we're blessed to have Brother Shahid Ali. Salam, bro. How you guys doing? You okay?
Alhamdulillah, really good.
Excellent. Excellent. How's the day been? How's the week been? How's the new year been?
Alhamdulillah, it's been long.
New Year? Do we celebrate New Year?
Oh, never get into that territory right now,
okay,
you know.
Okay, we'll
Seriously.
get into that anyway. No, but alhamdulillah, it's been a really good start to the year.
Good, excellent. I wish I could say it's been the same for me as well, man. I've just been in bare issues. Loads of issues. Oh, the wife. Seriously. You know, I think, I'm going to go straight to Jannat, honestly. No, it's not the beard, yeah? It's not the beard. I trimmed it for her because I love her.
Liar.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, listen, I'm on camera. I can never say that. But anyway, no, basically, I think I'm going to go straight to Jannat. Honestly.
Why do you think that?
Well, because the wife was angry at me the other day, yeah, and the amount of praying that I did to Allah, Allah said, this guy's a Jannati, straight, do not pass go, do not collect 200, straight into Jannat, yeah, because the amount of du'as I did to Allah, please stop her getting angry at me, please save me from this.
Yeah, but the question is, what did you do to make her angry in the first place?
We cannot say that on a Sharia compliant show.
But you know,
That says it now.
yeah, but you know, this reminds me
Yeah.
of a hadith from Imam al Askari, the first hadith we're going to talk about. And it goes, worship is not the quantity of prayers or fasting, it is how much you remember Allah.
So,
And to be honest,
yeah.
knowing you probably remember Allah quite a bit at home.
Yeah, I think I do with the amount of trouble that I get into, yeah. So therefore, the quality is like, Allah, please help me. It must be good then, right?
Yeah, but you say it 3,000 times.
Yeah. So what's wrong about that? I'm remembering Allah 3,000 times.
Yeah, but you're
right?
not going to go, help me, help me, help me. It's the quality.
No, that I agree with. It is definitely the quality, and obviously it's one thing, yeah, just using Allah for any and everything, and it's another thing entirely to remember Him in the time when you don't need Him, because we can all remember Him when we need Him, right?
Yeah.
But it's also the way you remember Him. It's not, if you sit there and go, help me, I need something. Well, what's the point? You don't remember Him other times, you just ask very quickly.
Isn't it about, the dialogue between you and Allah? Whether I say, help me, yeah, that's maybe just my expression to Allah, right? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like you wouldn't talk to someone you knew. You wouldn't go up and say, give me some money. You'd at least have a conversation with them. You'd acquaint yourself with them.
And you know, it gets difficult, especially if you haven't spoken to someone for a long time and you haven't been, in communication, and then you just go up to him and when you need him and you say, I just need
of
that,
course, yeah.
and then you just stop, knowing him until you need him again. That within ourselves is awkward.
Yeah.
But the thing is that, we go around our daily lives and our aim in life is to be obedient to Allah, right? And it doesn't mean we should be praying the whole day and we should be, staying at home or in the mosque and fasting. It's basically, the idea is that everything we do in life is meant to be qurbatan ilallah.
Yep.
Everything we do has to make us attain closeness to Allah. And just remembering that Allah is watching us would help us maintain ourselves on a straight path. Because, there's things that we don't do in front of our parents.
Yep.
Or in front, Maulana's coming, so, hide.
The cigarettes go, isn't it, Everything,
hide everything. But, and then when there's no one around, it's right.
Free for all, do what you want.
But Allah's always watching though.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a very difficult concept to try and explain to children. If you get what I mean, it's like mum and dad aren't around, I'll do something naughty, I'll push my little brother, or I'll go and sneak a biscuit from the cupboard.
The wife's not here, I'll eat that box of chocolates. That kind of stuff, right?
Experience, I suspect.
Yes, kinda.
But it's that kind of feeling, and trying to explain that to people that becomes very difficult as well. But if you bear it in the back of your mind and you understand that everything you do is seen, it's watched. Look at today's society, CCTV cameras everywhere.
Yeah.
Your phone on you, telling people where you are. People are starting to get used to the concept that you can't get away.
Yep.
And it's trying to understand how that works in the context of Islam.
Okay, so here's a question then, okay? Clearly, we're in a situation where in front of our parents, wives, brothers, sisters, whatever, we won't do anything wrong. But then, when we're away from them, we'll go do whatever we need to. How do we then look to change that?
There is a thing we were taught in madrasa, and the idea is that to make sure that you're trying to point your life, like everything you do in your life, to be qurbatan ila Allah, say Bismillah before you do everything. Yeah.
Good point.
And what that does is just reminds you that Allah is watching.
Sets the scene. It just yeah.
So it's like and if you make that a habit, then every single thing you do, even if it's lighting up a cigarette, you'd say Bismillah before.
Do you light up a cigarette?
You kind of walked into that one, didn't you?
You did. Yeah. You laid that one open. Are you blushing now, Shahid?
Shahid, you got to remember, Daddy and Uncle here.
There's too much light in the street, is it? Okay.
Daddy.
But what about Allah? Allah's watching you do that, right?
Yes. And that's something we have to train ourselves in.
I think we got you there, hook, line and sinker there, Shahid.
Well,
Shahid, do you want to change the subject very quickly?
Anyway, moving on,
you know, actually, we're talking about Allah watching us all the time. Another concept that we need to attach to it and understand is that our 12th Imam, Imam Mahdi Ajalallah Ta'ala Faraja, is also watching us.
That's true.
He's present,
That's
he's
very
watching
true.
us. He's like the father of the Ummah just now.
Yep.
And he's watching us. And that, every time, we're in deep trouble, we say, Ya Mahdi Adrikni. 15 Sha'ban, we know that we do the wasila of the 12th Imam to get, our affairs in order, and we do dua and get it accepted through the wasila of the 12th Imam. And we know that he's the Imam of the time, we want to please him. But he's also taking note of what we're doing.
Again, it's back to the point. Why does it have to be the 15th of Shaban? Why is it a specific date that you remember when you know that it's the same concept as your parents, for those of us that still have parents. They're still watching you. They're still there.
Yep.
It's not like they've disappeared. So, in the same respect, your 12th Imam is still here. He's here today, he's watching you. You shouldn't forget it just because it's a normal day of the calendar, and then suddenly 15th of Shaban comes.
That's true.
Oh yeah, he's watching me. I've got to remember. It's pointless.
I suppose you could you refer to it as being part-time Muslim. Yeah. For example, I mean, I hate to use a phrase, and brothers and sisters, I'm sure we all know individuals like that, and I'm sure they've got the cleanest of hearts here. But I recently heard with Muharram just gone. Okay, as soon as Sham al-Ghariba started, Muharram's over. No, it's not. What are you talking about? It's only like, Sham al-Ghariba, the 10th
It's every day. You've got
exactly.
to remember
Kullu yawmin ashura, kullu arzin Karbala.
That part-time actually brings me into an interesting concept as well. This one Shahid mentioned earlier on, which was, what was it called? The Haram Police.
The Haram Police. Oh my goodness.
I started going, what is the Haram Police?
Oh my God.
So go on, tell us. Tell us what the Haram Police is.
This is the first time I think that he's actually been lost for words, isn't it? Brothers and sisters, I need you to take a moment, okay, to remember this time in history where Shahid Ali Khaki was lost for words. Please continue.
Okay, before we go on to the Haram Police, I think I want to just mention something when we talk about Imam Mahdi's presence. So something interesting that one of the teachers in Stanwar's madrasa was talking about when he was teaching the students about Imam Mahdi. He introduced the concept of asking yourself, what would Imam Mahdi do?
Yeah, good point.
And he made wristbands, and it had that printed. So, every time you have to make a decision, you just look at your wrist and you see that, and it's like you think, what would Imam Mahdi think if I did that? That's a cool way of introducing.
It's a cool way, but it also starts to... So if you look at Rasulullah as we went along and all of the Imams as we went along, they all had qualities that were brought forward, which they had all the same qualities, but specific qualities were brought forward that showed you different aspects of their lives or different aspects of how Islam interacts with daily lives. Look at Imam Jafar as-Sadiq. He was still the Imam of the time, completely from a knowledge perspective, Islamically, through hadith, through religion, everything. He was at the top of his field. But at the same time, when you look at him, from a scholar's perspective, looking at modern day mathematics, literature, science, he was the top of his field.
Absolutely.
He introduced those concepts. And you look at, and you shouldn't, it's a start to take that concept first from remember what your Imam today would do. But also look at all of them. Look from Rasulullah all the way through. What happens? What qualities can you bring through that entire chain that help you in your daily lives to remember them and act like them?
I mean, to be honest with you, that's actually a good point. And I don't mind saying this, but until I became a father, I didn't realize his concept myself, right? Okay, because now with Ibrahim and Jannah now growing up, yeah, if Ibrahim like is doing something a little bit dodgy, you know, or cheeky as kids do, yeah, the first thing the wife and I say to him is like, think, what would Allah do, or what would Imam Hussein do? And he stops and thinks, you know. Initially, I'd tell him that, you know, it's just like, yeah, fine, you know, just say it, do it, right? But then obviously that brings us to the point of practice what you preach. Since I started telling him all of this, right, okay, I now find myself in the same position. For example, if I'm at work here and I've got to tell somebody off, I'll be like, I just want to explode on them, yeah, but I think, what would Imam Hussein do? What would Rasul Pak do? And then you just calm yourself down, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, Ya Ali Madad, take a deep breath. Listen, you could have done this better. Do it right. Do you know what I mean?
This is interesting where you're doing it because of the kids, so you practice what you preach,
Yeah.
so they learn by example. In the same way, that's exactly what Rasulullah, the Imams have all done, even prophets through the generations. They acted and they showed people what they were doing so that people learnt by example.
Isn't there a hadith about this, about a mu'min being a reflection of another mu'min and presenting Islam in the best light?
Yeah,
Right?
so the idea is that, so Imam Askari, salawatullah alayh, said that the biggest misfortune
Yeah.
for a person is when he shadows any good feature of a person, and when he notices a fault, he makes it a big issue and spreads it around. Yeah, and basically what he's saying is that for us, you know, a lot of people who when you see like, oh, mashallah, you know, he's doing something good, instead of commending him or, you know, saying anything, he ignores it, or you know, doesn't think anything of it, which is fair enough. You don't need to publicize everything. But as soon as he sees something even slightly that looks like a fault, immediately, you know, hello, you know, this person writes a paper, emails it out, you know, to the whole community.
We know enough uncles and aunties like that.
Exactly. And that is what Imam al Askari was referring to. But that links to another hadith, which is al-mu'minu miratul mu'min, which is basically a mu'min is a mirror of a mu'min. And we all know that a mirror, and again this links to another hadith where what the mirror means is explained, and a few of them, because I don't have the whole hadith, a few of them were, a mirror always shows the truth. A mirror always shows the good and the bad equally. It doesn't emphasize the good or over exaggerate, and it doesn't emphasize the bad or over exaggerate. It doesn't come to you to tell you, you know, this is good and this is bad. You go to it, and it, you know, it reflects who you are.
This is where if you look at a mirror, it shows you yourself. You can't hide the good and the bad. But the one thing that we're always taught, again, right the way from the beginning, is by example. So if you look in the mirror and you see something bad, imagine what someone else would see. And if you are leading by that example, imagine I'm not a mu'min. Imagine if you're not, and you are just a person off the street who is looking at Islam and you are reflecting it. What does he see?
Yeah, especially in today's day and age, you know, where with all Islamophobia, where every Muslim is a terrorist, we've all got bombs strapped to our chest, you know. This is a time where we need to have more ikhlaq, more sabr, you know, to show that, hey, not all Muslims are like this. Yeah? All these ISIL and all these terrorists, okay? We hate them as much as you do. They kill our people as well.
As you mentioned, in today's society, there's all of the Islamophobia. Worse than that, listen to a program like LBC. Okay, it's a very good show if you take it with a pinch of salt. The hosts are there to generate conversation.
Oh, that host! Oh my God! I'm not going to take the names.
No names. But remember, no. You know what? I actually respect him because he's there to do a job. He's there to get ratings.
Oh, no. Hang on a second. There's two ways of getting ratings. Yeah, there's ratings like we get ratings, like nicely, friendly, you know, fluffy stuff. And there's a way that he gets ratings. That what he's doing. Okay, yes, we may call it entertainment, but I honestly feel that he's inciting people.
He is.
You know,
but he's inciting people to get a reaction. Okay, I don't agree with everything he says. But the calls he gets in, if you listen to them very carefully, the critical point is people don't understand us.
No, they don't.
They see one face and one face only that's publicized in the media. They do not understand. When you have people there, again, it's the same thing that the people who claim to be Muslims take one line from the Quran, from Hadith, and blow it out of proportion.
Totally.
So The same thing is true for people who look at Islam and want to criticize it. They take those same lines and they pull it apart. You have to be able to do everything in context. You have to show the context behind your actions, your speech, the way you behave. And if you don't do that, what chance do you have people to understand you?
Yeah.
That becomes more and more important. And this is what we discuss when we discuss about the Imams, is the examples they set, right the way from the Prophet. The way the Prophet started to set the example so people taught. There's also stories with with Rasulullah specifically, where he didn't start preaching until people were ready to understand his message and believe him. In the classic stories, he says to people, if I told you today there was an army behind that mountain, would you believe me? They said, yes, we would, because we know you are truthful. At that point, he understood people, or he knew people were ready to accept and listen to his message.
But just to add on that, if you know, so the Prophet started propagating Islam at the age of 40. That means that the way he carried himself and the way he acted from the time he was young all the way to the age of 40, he did not give anyone even a feeling that he is not trustworthy or untruthful. And imagine the akhlaq that he must have he did indeed carry for people to believe that, because anyone, so however truthful or however honest and stuff we are, if you see me committing a crime or doing something bad, you will never see me as completely truthful or trustworthy.
Sure.
Yeah. So the Prophet carried himself with so much akhlaq that people over 40 years, which is a long time, maintained. Even his enemies, after he preached prophethood, still trusted him and came to him for advice.
Left their amana with him, everything.
Even though they didn't believe in his message, they still trusted him.
Without a doubt.
Which is a very big difference.
The question now is, how are we, the modern Muslims of Britain, around the world, we've got to ask ourselves, how are we presenting ourselves? I can tell you one thing, my wife said I wasn't presenting myself very well when I had my dadi, my long beard. Hence I shaved it off.
Yeah, but that's because you had food in it.
That's snacks, come on. It's either I carry a big bag with me or I keep it for quick access. Yum yum, Come on, what would you do? And for those of us that do have hair and have the ability to grow the hair, it makes a big difference,
But it's easier to maintain. So
no, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that, because there's also, the Imams have also said to us as well that if there's someone has flaws, then we should never say them out in public. So the fact that I've said that about your hair, the wonderful curly locks,
but
I shouldn't be saying this publicly,
but
right?
the difference is you're saying it to my face. Which has some respect.
Most times.
If I wasn't in the room, you were saying it to him, that's a different question. And that's where people learn. People learn that there's nothing wrong with saying something to people's faces. As long as you understand how you're saying it and how you come across, sometimes telling people the truth doesn't necessarily hurt them. They may take it on the chin. They may say, okay, he's told me, but he's told me in a nice way. Whereas if you go up and criticize, it hurts people.
Yeah, absolutely.
And also, if you look at the lives of the Imams, so we have this concept of Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahy anil Munkar. So enjoining people towards good and leading them away from evil. But if you look at how the Imam showed us how to do it, how to approach it. So there's a story about the Imams Hassan and Hussein alayhim salam. And when they were young, they went to the masjid and they saw an old man doing wudu, but not in the correct way.
It's a wonderful story.
So they could have gone directly up to him and told him that, you're not doing it well, and but they didn't. What did they do? So they went to the old man and they told him, could you come watch us do wudu and tell us who's doing it the right way?
Sure.
And so of course he agreed, because it's kids. And they went ahead and they did wudu in the correct manner, and the old man realized that they're doing it in the correct manner.
And this is where you have not just teaching by an example without hurting someone. This one also has an interesting one, particularly in today's society, where it's respect for your elders. So there's another interesting point that has come about on various talk shows and stuff, where people are talking about today's respect for your elders. Does it exist? And generally the consensus has been dropping away. People do not respect their elders anymore.
Okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate here. I'm going to say, okay, just for the sake of argument, the respect is not dropping. It's been adjusted into modern society. Case in point, when I was growing up, my father would tell me, "Beta, do this." And I'd be like, "Yes, daddy." Now, I tell my son who's 5, "Beta, do this." He goes,
Why?
Why? because of the X, Y, and Z. No, daddy. What do you mean, no, daddy?
I was told, it's
Do you know
different.
what I think what it is, okay, it's an adjustment, okay? I think that the generation gap, okay, is closing, right? Because the friendship that I had with my father, okay, he's my best friend, right?
Yeah.
In the same way, Ibrahim, my son, is now becoming my best friend as well. But the gap that I had between me and my father because of the generation issues back in the day is a lot
It's
closer now.
not, I would term it cultural as well.
But then again, living here, okay, in Britain,
that's the
we've
difference.
developed our own culture, you know, being
Exactly.
born and bred here. Do you know what I mean? I don't know about you and your visa and passport issues, which is a different talk show entirely. But, you know,
Ladies
I'm
and gentlemen,
sure
I must apologise for any immigration issues that come up. No, just kidding.
if you want his address, we can provide it to you.
legally in the
You know?
country.
The
so
next
there's
program
no
Shahid will
issue.
be showing on is UK border force. You
Oh
know?
yeah.
Okay, but then let's take it back a step, right? You guys just mentioned, okay, that this when you have to tell somebody that they're doing something wrong, there's a tact of doing it, right?
Yes.
You do it in an indirect, in a polite, respectful manner. However, we all know that there are situations where politeness and tactfulness does not work, and you have to be direct.
Of course.
In that
Yeah,
situation,
but-
what do you do then? Do you just come out there and say
the
it then?
hadith of Imam Askari is that those who advise friends in public, those who advise friends in secret are respecting him, and those who advise them openly are humiliating.
Yeah.
So generally what you would do is, if you cannot show by example, or he does not get it in that sense,
Yep.
then you must not do it in public.
Yeah.
But the idea is that you know you can after the act or whatever, you can go up to him in private and have a word with him, and you do your best out of with respect and honor, and if it doesn't work, then you've done your duty of
Isn't there also the case that there are times where you have to be a little bit stronger?
Yeah.
You can't just. There are times where you're not going to have the ability to be polite. You have to be a bit stronger.
Well, either way, you
Either
don't
way.
do it in front of.
No,
No,
that we
no.
agree with. I mean, yeah, definitely. You don't do it in front of anyone, yeah, unless you're an absolute idiot, yeah. In which case, then, yeah, no one's got time for you. But what I think Nazir's got a point here, that there's certain issues and topics that yes, you talk to them about in privately, but you can't sugarcoat it. You just have to come out there and say it in privately. For example, Shahid, your beard. You need to look at that. Yeah, I can't say that publicly on film, on camera, on TV. Do you know what I mean? I'd have to take you aside and say, Shahid, listen, you know your daddy, yeah? It's looking like a bit of a Bengali one, you know, grow this little bit. But I can't, I've got to say that to you privately. I can't say it on camera, can I? Is that what you're trying to aim at?
Yes, there is that, but there's also the other aspect where you have to maintain your own self-respect.
Yes.
So there are times where, even in public, if you are being oppressed, and oppression has many forms.
Yes, it does.
But if you're being oppressed, there are times where you must stand up and show your strength.
Love it. When you're being oppressed, there are times where you have to stand up and show your strength, yeah? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
I refuse to do the dishes, wife, because I'm being oppressed, and I'm standing up and I'm putting my foot down.
Ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow night at mosque there will be a
Fuck
remembrance.
But
come on, this
It's
is a
been
form
nice
of
knowing
oppression.
you. No. But
That is a
with
form of
Imam
oppression,
Hassan
though.
al Askari's own. When he passed away, you look at what happened.
Yeah.
With his when he passed away, Imam Mahdi prayed his namaz for his father, but he had to fight for that right.
That's right, yeah.
And he was there, and that's a classic example in point where he said, no, this is my right to do, this is what I will do. No one else has to do it. I don't care if you are my uncles or whoever else. My right, I will do it, because this is my father.
Sure.
And there are times where you have to put your foot down. Even in today's society and generation, you think, yes, Muslims are being oppressed. We are taken in different lights. We should show that in a good light. We show people how good we are, the teachings we have, the way we have been taught to live our lives. At the same time, don't take oppression.
No, of course.
Not in that bad form.
But then again, there are also ways and processes in how to fight oppression. For example, if you're being oppressed by a government, you know, for example, not to mention any names, maybe a government that killed a very prominent Shia scholar, and that's the head of the Human Rights Council, you you write a strongly worded letter, for example. If that doesn't work, then you speak out against it. And obviously, Islam itself means peace.
Yes.
Yeah. So fighting isn't allowed, war isn't allowed, only until it's the last, resort. Do you know what I mean? So the ways and means in which we go about it.
I agree, but this is again where in today's society, this is very important. Not just the younger generation start to learn about it.
Yeah.
They understand, but we can't get complacent.
No, we can't.
For example, voting. Why do I have to vote? This is not an Islamic government. Well, hang on a second. You live here. You are part of today's society. Your vote, you may say not count, but if you and 10 million other people decide that it doesn't count, that's 20% of the voting electorate. That's a massive amount. Your vote does count.
It does.
Make sure you vote. Make sure you start looking at politics. We have today candidates who are Muslims standing for various positions. Yeah. Listen to them. See what they say. If they are important enough and they I say rock your boat, but if if they have a message that you understand and you respect, vote for them.
Yeah.
Don't just say it doesn't matter. There are processes. If you're not sure, there are people in the community who are aware of the different processes, who've either been through them, actually practiced them. There are lawyers, there are people that are involved in government. Go and talk to them, understand what it means. Try and get on board with that so that you start living and you start working these processes in your favor. And this, I mean, you look back right the way from Rasulullah's time, when he united the population and brought them under Islam, those people who were not Muslims still lived in peace and harmony.
Oh, yeah.
And this is something that today's message is losing when you look at the likes of ISIS and those people. They oppress people if they don't believe the same thing as them. That is not Islamic.
No, it's
that
not.
is not the way
In
the
fact,
Prophet
let's
lived
be
his
honest,
life.
what they believe, it's not religious at all.
No.
It's pure political, brainwashing, manipulation. That's all it is.
Well, this is where the message gets confused. So it's coming out in the press now where you look at it, and it's all about money. The amount of money they make from oil and donations from countries and individuals, it's multi-million-dollar enterprise. And where's that money going? That money is going into the pockets of the people at the top. So you look at it and you think about it, corruption is rife. What do you do about it? You have to stand up for it at some stage.
We're talking about politics, and there is a hadith by Imam Askari, again, in which he says the powerful will definitely be humiliated if they do not take up the right.
Yep.
And the humble will be victorious if they do, basically.
It's a great hadith, but it requires people not to be complacent and to be understanding. So if you're a politician and you oppress or you do something, unless the people hold you to account.
Yeah, so there's two parts to this. The first thing is, if you look at the politicians just now, you see how their support is diminishing.
Yeah.
And it's because they do not generally talk, about the right, like the executions that happen. There was no one who spoke up, and despite the protests that erupted around the world, the capturing of the Sheikh Zakzaki and things, there was countless of protests and emails sent to the MPs and stuff. No one spoke up. And the fact that they're not standing up for the right or holding up the values.
Well, the thing is, they wouldn't though, because it doesn't favour them.
Exactly.
It doesn't favour their interests.
And that is why you see that their support is falling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas, this also calls upon us, as normal people, to take an interest in the affairs of the world.
Of course.
And stand up for what's right.
See, the biggest issue is, we can take an interest in the world if we detach ourselves from the internal politics that we create for ourselves within our communities. If we decide to unite with one another, not just Shia with Shia, Sunni with Sunni, with Muslims, we need to unite together. Once we free ourselves of those shackles, of course, it's definitely worth it.
It started to happen where you have the Muslim Council of Britain and other organisations now talking about how certain factions that are operating in the Middle East are not Muslim. Why does it take something as severe as beheadings and actions such as that to drive people together? I mean, there's a classic cartoon that's on Facebook and other places that shows a pair of scissors.
Yeah.
With on one handle you got Sunni, on the other handle you got Shia, coming together and cutting the head off what is considered ISIS or terrorism or whatever you want to call it. Why does it take something like this to bring us together?
Yeah,
absolutely. Just to take this just deeper, if we look at within our communities, Even you leave out the Sunni Shia alliance. Within us, there is so much politics. Any community you go to, there's so much fighting, and I want to be better than that one, and I don't care about this one, or I laugh at the expense of this one. We cannot stand up together as one until we get rid of that.
The first thing we need to do is to get rid of the haram police. That is a step in the right direction.
Do you notice how he completely avoided
Exactly.
that?
For the last 20 minutes here, we've just diverted that topic. You can be a Maulana when you grow up. Only joking, all politician even, when you grow up. But haram police though, and
so
I think we no, we're not changing the subject again.
No.
It's taking me 20 minutes to bring the topic back around here to talk about haram police. Just to let everyone know, okay, my brother Shahid very kindly, spent like 2 days preparing a production brief, okay, which is like about 1 million pages long, okay, using big words as well, right?
3 pages.
Bored us to death.
Yeah, bored us to death, right? Okay, not even in plain English. I mean, we're going to ye old English text and blah blah blah. Yeah. And all I was reading is blah 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 blah. However, the moral of the story is 2 words stuck out on that page, isn't it? Haram police.
I'm glad you read the brief because I didn't. As soon as you said that, I said,
Someone had to, man. Someone had to.
What do we do? Do they walk around with, who are these
Innit?
people?
Stop, haram police. What is a haram police, Shahid?
So the hadith we
No.
mentioned.
He's doing it again.
I'm using it to explain what haram police is. So basically, haram police.
You can be a politician, can't you?
Come on, let me speak. Haram police is, you have those uncles, like there's like an uncle who stands outside while namaz is going on inside. He's holding a tasbih.
Yes,
and
those uncles holding the tasbih, smoking a cigarette.
And then he sees like kids or other guys walking around and like, go inside and pray. Namaz is going on. You have no shame, whatever.
I tell your father.
Yeah.
I know your father.
Himself, he's standing outside, doing his own stuff while namaz is going on. Or you get people who randomly come up to you, like sometimes someone you don't even know, and like you're doing something, and then he'll come up to you. He doesn't know like what you're doing, or like you're eating something, and the name's a bit.
Why are you looking at me when you say eating something? Why me? Why can't he point to him?
See, he could have said you're walking around with someone. You go, who's that?
Exactly.
Haram. That's my sister.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically.
But sister in Islam doesn't necessarily mean blood sister.
No, but
I'm just saying,
What you mean? Walk around with a DNA test kit? Is my sister? Look! I prove to you now, my sister.
You know that when we were the hadith that led us to speaking about the mirror.
Yeah.
A mu'min is a mirror of a mu'min, and it's basically that you don't go around hunting for people to attack, and this is wrong and that is wrong. You look at yourself internally, and you fix yourself up, and you believe that other people are doing that for themselves. And then if you see something going on, then you can take that person to side and discuss it with them, and in a very nice way. You don't just go and shout at them. Like there was one time, I was in outside mosque.
Outside mosque.
Outside mosque. I was outside mosque, and I had just come home from a long day of work. And I had an energy drink in my hand.
Okay.
In a brown paper bag.
No.
Sorry.
It was not in a brown paper bag, but it was one of those big cans.
Yeah.
Oh, like the Monster type.
Yeah.
They look like lager cans,
Yeah. So I was drinking that, and this uncle came up to me, and he's like, "You don't have shame? You're drinking alcohol in the mosque?"
He didn't ask you for some, did he?
No. I was
Beta, this is a bad brand.
Yeah.
What are you doing with this? Give this to me.
Yeah, but the thing is, and I think that was the first year I got here from Mombasa, so I didn't really understand what he was talking about. Fresh off the board.
Nothing's changed there then.
No.
I was baffled. And he literally, and there was like at least 20 people out there, and in front of everyone, he's like, shut up, Nai. You don't have shame. You're drinking alcohol in the mosque.
That's haram police.
Exactly.
Exactly. If you do see the haram police, you tell them that it's haram for them to do that. Yeah, it's haram to be the haram police, isn't it? Which then technically makes us haram police as well. Then
Yeah,
doesn't it?
Yes.
Which also reminds me as well. I've noticed that a lot of the people that are haram police, they really know how to use their lungs and their tongue and talk.
MashaAllah.
MashaAllah,
Well, if they
subhanallah.
didn't use their lungs and their tongues when they were talking, I'd be very concerned.
No, seriously, no. In the sense that they overuse it, they over-exercise it, yeah?
Yeah.
And
They've
I'm
got the
sure...
proper like loud voice.
Loud voices
booming
and
Yeah, but that's
everything.
because they have to make a point, don't they?
Yeah, but they have to make a point everywhere, every time. They've got an
but
opinion.
It's, look, I'm important. I'm the one. Again, it's down to how you lead by example.
But I'm sure there's a hadith about this as well, about talking too much. I'm sure you can remind us of that.
I need to look at the
And
page.
we've just done
I'm
to
on the
you.
wrong
What
page.
kind of a alim are you going to be? Just to let you guys know, yeah, the production notes were produced by him. Who's not reading the production notes?
Not us.
Him. Who is not referred to the production notes? Us two.
And who doesn't remember it? Me.
This is what we need to go through. It's Safir TV working with Shahid. You know,
Oh, come
subhanallah.
on. You
No, but
know
come
you
on.
love it. You know you love it.
We do, we
So
do.
the
indeed.
hadith,
Let's bring Shahid
Yes.
back on topic.
Yes.
the
Haram.
hadith, the hadith is, the heart of a fool is in his mouth, and the mouth of a wise man is in his heart.
This is again back to the point about Shahid using words that are very difficult to understand. I mean, quite simply in English, what it means is try and talk with your heart and not just your mouth.
Yeah, and don't
'Cause-
talk too much.
Because if you use just your mouth, you get foot and mouth syndrome, where what you're saying could hurt, could insult, could not make sense to people. Whereas if
And
You see, the other thing as well, I kind of feel like a bit of a hypocrite here as well, because the other meaning that I take from it is intelligent and wise people don't talk too much. They talk when they need to talk. What does that make us here, talking for the next hour to these wonderful people?
they can make they can make their own minds up about that
You
one.
see, or they can use that fast forward on live TV. Do you know what I mean? But I'm just saying, you know.
You know, a good point you made. The first half of your statement.
Not the second half. Too
The
much,
second
too
half,
much talking.
It's a duty we're doing to share our experiences
Of
and
course.
our, the information with the public.
You calling
Which,
me old?
alhamdulillah, you're,
No, seriously, are you calling me old?
white hair is a symbol of wisdom.
No, you got to have hair to have white hair. Let's be honest, you know.
Let's move on.
That brings me up in another interesting point, but we'll discuss that hadith later.
Yeah, moving on.
So
I know exactly what he's going to say.
So with this hadith, the first half of what
Yeah.
he said was that generally clever people,
Yeah.
they do not speak that much, and when they speak, it holds so
Oh,
much
yeah.
weight.
Absolutely.
And generally, that's a sign of a wise person,
Yeah.
where you sit down and you're not blabbering and running the
Yeah.
conversation, but and it's automatic that the moment you're silent through a
Yeah.
whole conversation.
Have you ever noticed you get into a situation where you got round a group at mosque, around a dinner table, you have one person that'll take over the conversation, just keep running with it, talking non-stop for a couple of hours. Every point that he's ever heard in the last 3 weeks will come up in that conversation. And it doesn't matter whether it's factually incorrect or whatever he's doing. Don't look at me like that, because I'm not going to point at you, right? But no. Just keeps talking. And then suddenly you get the one person on the table that's been quiet
Yeah.
for the entire 2 hours. Suddenly
And
turn
he
around
goes
and go,
slam dunk.
did you know, slam dunk, did you know you're actually wrong? 2 hours of conversation out the window.
And for the rest of the evening, he's like, quiet.
I'm going to get you back.
And,
After another 3 weeks of listening to other people.
Exactly.
and then start spreading rumors in the community. Oh, do you know what he did?
He put me, do you know this harami? You know, but this is where you get into the point where if you put yourself into that position,
Yeah.
you are putting yourself into a position where you're going to get shot down.
No, absolutely.
And you are making yourself look foolish. Again, you're not leading by example.
A simple way to help yourself,
Mm.
make sure that you're saying proper things and not blabbering,
Yeah.
is to ensure that you think before you speak.
Yeah.
And it's as simple as that. If you make sure that you will not say anything without thinking about what it'll mean to the other person, and what they'll take it, or whether it's factually correct, whether it's a rumor, whether it's gonna hurt him, it's gonna save yourself from so much hassle.
Embarrassment. Yeah, that's embarrassment. I think it stems from one point and one point only, okay? To be humble is the key. Because if one is humble, okay, they don't need to prove themselves as being, oh, look at me, I'm the man. Yeah, look at this, look at that, blah, blah, blah. Because they're quietly confident in themselves. Why are they quietly
I did
confident?
like the collar thing there. Is that experience?
I know, I was actually practicing that
Practicing
before
it.
the show in the mirror, I had to
He's used to
pull it
doing
off,
it.
you
Yeah.
know. I mean, if I had my muche and my moustache, I'd still be doing this, but clearly we want people to watch and not turn off, right? But it stems from this, as I was saying, okay, from humbleness, okay? Why would people be humble and quietly confident? Because they know that they have that closeness with Allah. Why do they have that closeness with Allah? Because they followed the footprints left to us by the Ahlul Bayt, by Rasul Pak, okay? They followed the hadith, okay, down to a T. And they know. They don't need to show off, yeah, to
There's
the
nothing
next
to
man.
prove.
The only person that you need to prove yourself to and to show off to is that dude upstairs.
And also, to be honest, the moment you practice, good akhlaq, and implement good akhlaq in all your action, it is automatically noticeable.
Of course.
You see that people like being around you, people appreciate you, and the whole idea is that you should be such that anyone on the street sees you, should be able to say, this is a follower of Imam Sadiq.
Yeah,
You've also got to remember, the more often you do it, the more it becomes second nature.
that's right.
So initially it's very difficult. You have to practice it. You have to be aware of it. But if you do it long enough, it becomes part of your life. And that's where you want to get to. You want to get to the stage where you are not, where everything you do, this is second nature to you. And you are acting that out without thinking about it.
Well, they do say that if you do something, okay, for 40 days, it becomes habit. So if you could only get through 40 days, yeah, by being humble, by having that sabr, by showing good akhlaq.
With thinking before you speak.
Thinking before you speak.
Which 40 days did you start talking from then?
Well, I haven't actually started yet. Because the thing is, if I actually stop talking, then it affects my job because I get paid to talk, you know.
So
it's the
it's
best job in the
constant.
world, honestly.
400 days more like that.
That's a different story. That's because I'm Pakistani. You know, I don't know what it's like in Africa for you guys.
You know this hadith that we mentioned? I think there's another thing to add to it. Another thing to take from it. It is also the thing about, when you speak from your heart.
Yep.
Well, that's where you should be speaking from.
That's right.
In the first place. You should speak what you believe in. You shouldn't be, because I meet you and, I say, this just praise you, and then I meet Nazir somewhere else and I talk bad about you, for example. Not that I did that.
That's not what I heard.
No, but I tend to agree with that point with a slight difference. So,
go on.
You talk with your heart, I agree, but that's got to pass through your head as well somewhere.
Okay, that comes into being tactful.
Yeah,
and diplomatic when you need to be.
I mean, the literal translation, it's very difficult to take the literal translation of the hadith into English and understand what the meaning behind it is. So, I just say, especially for the youth today, when you're reading something that's been translated straight off, you've
not
got
very
to.
accurate.
I wouldn't say accurate. It's the literal translation. You have to be able to understand what it means at the root of it. So, with this particular one, where you did read it out, and it's people talk with their hearts. That heart means you have to talk from somewhere where you're being honest with yourself, and you're being truthful. But at the same time, that heart has to understand that if you are on the opposite end, how would you feel?
So you also feel the compassion,
Of course.
and the brotherhood and the love in the same
let's be honest, right?
sentence.
It's haram to hurt someone's feelings. Yeah, it's one of the biggest gunas that one could do, right? So yeah, you're right. So you speak from the heart, you speak the truth, but you say it in a manner which is not hurtful.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Or insulting to the one
before
opposite
you
you.
speak comes.
Yeah, absolutely.
But also, there's also one more thing that we can draw from this hadith, and it's the concept of practice what you preach.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that
So
is
by
very
that, if my wife tells me wash the dishes, she has to wash the dishes before she tells me. Is that basically what you're saying? Why are you guys quiet all of a sudden?
Stop trying to get
No,
out.
I'm just trying to ask you a question here.
You know, you dig a hole. You're not supposed to jump into it.
I'm not jumping into it. I'm asking you a question.
she's
So
gonna watch
myself
this,
and the viewers can understand exactly what you mean by that. So if, for example, going back to the same thing, husband dearest, can you please wash the dishes?
Hold on,
Okay, wifey, can you wash the dishes first and then tell me?
I'm sure Shahid's got an example concerning dates, I believe.
Yeah, but let me tell you one
Let's
thing
not go
before we
there.
go on to that.
Not those kinds of... Oh,
Kajur.
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 That's exactly what I meant. Let's
Where
not
did
go
we find
there.
you?
No, but in this thing with your wife,
Yeah.
right? I'm sure she does dishes more than you do at home, knowing you.
Hang on, why would you say that?
You're very... I love you.
He's the quick learner from the hadith, isn't it?
No. But no,
How long
into that
have you
context.
been married?
Are you blushing?
You have a
So
lot.
the
You
story
have a lot to
about
learn,
the
brother.
Kajur.
Yeah.
So there is a story that I've heard about the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. where a mother approached him with her child and told him that, you know, I've been trying to explain to my son to eat dates every day,
Yeah.
but he doesn't like them. He doesn't want to eat them, but they're good for him.
Yeah.
Could you please tell him that he should be eating dates every day? So the Prophet told the woman,
Yeah.
come back to me in 3 days.
Mm.
So after 3 days, the woman came back with the child, and the Prophet explained to him that, you know, you should eat dates and you should eat them every day, you know, because, you know, it's good for you and your mom is asking you to and all that. So after they left, some Sahabas came to him and asked him, you know, why couldn't you tell him, you know, on the first time? Why did you have to come after 3 days? So the Holy Prophet ﷺ said that I don't eat dates every day, and therefore I can't tell him that he should be eating dates every day.
Perfect.
And therefore I had to ask him to leave and come back after 3 days so I could practice it, implement it, and then I could tell him. Now, of course, we're not saying that the Prophet didn't know about the benefits of eating dates, and that.
But he didn't want to be a liar. He didn't want to be a hypocrite.
It was a point to teach us about the importance
of practicing
of practicing what we preach.
Yeah,
and it was a very simple way of doing it.
In fact, that reminds me of a story. When I was back in Milton Keynes, okay, there was a community there, okay, and they invited quite a large religious scholar within that community to come down and, you know, preach to them. And the sermon was about how the TV is the devil, how it's shaitan, okay. So he's there, he goes, brothers, you know, the TVs you have in your house, throw them out on the street. They're this, they're that, blah, 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 blah. So one of the guys there, the guy that was telling me the story, he was sitting there and he stood up and goes, look, Sheikh, you know, you're saying TV is haram? Yes. You've got 3 in your house. What about them?
Ouch.
Yeah. Straight away, the whole 2-hour sermon that he had flopped. And I'm not saying that everything he said was bad. There's some very, very relevant points there. But that one point of him having the 3 TVs in his house and not throwing them out himself,
completely
demolished in the entire thing.
This is where you get into people getting carried away with what they're talking about. Yeah. The point was about what is being shown on the TV, etc. Yeah. But to go up there and shout, throw your TVs out without thinking about it yourself.
Think about it, the TV, yes, it's got a lot of wrong things on there, we know. But it's got so many good things on there. The news,
like this show,
the documentary, this show, Saphir TV. You know, you got the 3 brothers here, but that's besides the point. But we can learn so much from it, In fact, that reminds me, 1500 years ago, Imam Ali, you may remember, did say that there will be a shaitan on every roof. And we can translate that to be the aerial.
Satellite dish,
you know. But then again, it's how you use it. You can either use the shaitani influence, to motivate you to be better, or you can fall into his trap.
To this point, I think there's something I was discussing with a few friends of mine before, was that we as Muslims are so, I wouldn't say backward, but so, you know, a step behind of everyone else. For example, when TV came out.
Yeah.
How many decades ago?
How many decades ago was it? You're quite young then, right? Sorry, go on.
So TV.
When I was a little boy.
TV came out like decades ago. Yet we have just over the past 10 years started developing, you know, using the TV for, you know, tabligh and for, religious programming. When Facebook came out, Facebook was not, we didn't start, you know, automatically trying to figure out a way of using it to do good. But only recently, have we started to use it to, you know, get communities together and, you know, to do productive work.
But if you look at, so you take those 2 examples, I think there's also a generational and a educational issue. So if you look at the adoption of TV and the way that we've taken it on board, it's only been the last 5-6 years that we've really become proficient at using it as a medium. Facebook, it probably took us, 6 months? But that's because you look at kids who use it, today's generation, our generation, they use it more. And it's about adoption and understanding the use of technology.
No, both mediums, like if you look at Facebook, how crazy it went, like how popular it went, how fast, was way quicker than the rollout of TV.
I think, I understand what you're saying. I think what you're trying to say is that as a community, as a Muslim community, we have not been quick to adopt the technologies around us to propagate the true meaning of Islam, to show the world that, hey, dudes, we're not all bad.
I mean, the message of the Ahlul Bayt is so beautiful and so powerful that even in the way the Imams walked and the way they spoke and in the way the Sahabas of the Imam walked and talked, that itself attracted people to the message of the Ahlul Bayt. And what this technology is allowing us to do is to spread this message further out, and try and get more, give it out so more people have access to it.
Yeah, I think the moral of the story is that Islam is not a religion, it's a way of life.
Definitely.
How we wake up in the morning, go to the toilet, brush our teeth. In the same way, Islam teaches us the discipline, the guidance on how to lead a satisfying and happy life. Let's be honest, right? Okay, and then again, that's subjective. Happiness is subjective to people. You know, happiness for you may be, you know, going out for dinner. Happiness for you may be doing something else. For me, it may be something else. But as long as it's within Sharia, okay, and we're content with what we have, without the jealousy and the hasad in our hearts, you know. And let's be honest, okay, with regards to the jealousy, you know, when people are jealous with each other, you know, they're happy at the misfortunes of others, aren't they? Do you know what I mean?
It's interesting you bring that point up, because you look through it and it's always been a case, and it's I'm not going to say human nature, but it's a fault of people that Islam tries to correct. So what you have today may not necessarily be what I might be jealous that you have it, but if I was to have that, it may not be any good for me.
Yeah.
So, but people don't tend to realise that. They only focus on what they don't have.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that is human nature, and it goes back to the way that we have to be able to bring and make second nature into our lives, the ability to follow.
There's a saying, and I for the life of me, I cannot remember who said this, right, okay? But the saying goes that do not look at those above you, look at those behind you or below you. Because when you look to those, oh my God, look, he's got a Ferrari, he's got a Porsche, suddenly, you're right, it is a form of human nature, I want this, you know. But then if you look at those that don't have it, and then you realize, my God, how lucky I am. Case in point, my wife recently went to Greece. You were there as well, okay? You know, with the refugee crisis, okay? Every single person, including my wife, that has been there, and I've spoken to them on the way back, yeah? I can tell you one thing, hand on heart, and I can guarantee my life on it, they change. You see people there, doctors, accountants, lawyers, educated people, okay, that are sitting there, all right? And then we are sitting here thinking, my car is 5 years old, I need a new car. Oh my God, look at this jacket, it's got a bit of a rip on it, blah, blah, blah. And we're like, you know, we're so materialistic. But when you see those, okay, people that don't have anything, it makes you realize, my God, how lucky are we, alhamdulillah.
You've got to balance the two, though. So if you spend too much time looking back and not looking down and forward, you've got to balance the two. Because if you look only backwards or downwards, you suddenly start going, well, I'm actually better than them.
And then your aspirations die.
Well, then it changes, because then you go, I'm better.
Yeah.
So you've got to balance the two, and it's striking that balance that is very difficult.
Yeah.
And you're right. You look at Greece, you have people who are doctors, people who are accountants, people had businesses, people had fantastic careers. All of that they've lost. They've suddenly turned into people who don't have food, who don't have clothes.
There was one guy, an older gentleman, who owned like a whole chain of hotels and was extremely rich and you know, had a lot of money, but had to leave everything behind. And you know, he was on a wheelchair, and the smugglers, before they put him on the boat, they threw the wheelchair away. So he's literally sitting, piled up under people, and he's this rich, mashallah, you know, he's made a lot of money in that, but look, his position was such that he had nothing at that point.
You see, on that point, I want to clear something up, okay? And this has been bugging the hell out of me, okay? Ever since this crisis started, okay? Everywhere I've been, personally, and I'm only speaking for myself because any views expressed here are those of our own individual natures, right? Of course. Okay? Everywhere I've been, I've always heard, they're homeless, they're poor. Well, hell no, they're not poor. It costs tens of thousands of dollars, okay, for them to be smuggled out of Syria into the, you know, the refugee camps that they're in now. Normal people cannot afford it. You've got to be rich to do this.
But by the time they reach, they're definitely not rich.
So they were rich to begin with in order to pay for that. That's
well, no, you can't really comment on that. So you don't know how they got that money in the first place.
Whatever it is, one thing we can't deny is that they've had to pay thousands of dollars
Yeah.
to get there. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so you can't consider them to be poor. Yeah. They may be poor on materialistic things, but hey, can you take their education away from them? Can you take away their track record, their history?
This is where there are, for every one person that makes it, there are thousands who don't.
Yeah.
And I agree. They don't make it for various reasons, and some of them are related to money. But at the same time, I would be careful to say they were rich. You don't know we don't know, and I'm not pointing at you.
They were
Again,
able to afford to pay.
Somehow they were able. We don't know what those
No,
personal circumstances are.
Someone said that really struck a chord with me was, we know as well as they know how many people have died just on that boat ride.
Yeah.
To be able to pick your kids, sometimes toddlers or infants, carry them, sit on that boat, knowing that it's not 100% that they will reach across. To do that shows how desperate they are to make that journey.
Of course. I mean, it's interesting when you look at, and this is true for a lot of the countries that are in that area of the Middle East, where you look at Lebanon, you look at Syria. Throughout the years, from the late 70s right the way through to today, if you took, and there's some fantastic pictures that show towns and cities in Syria today versus where they were 5-7 years ago, and you look at the difference, and literally it looks like World War III's hit them, and that's what people have had to leave behind. At the same time, we sit here in relative comfort, so it depends. You've got to be careful. You've got to look at their lives and look at our lives today. Be thankful for what you have, and at the same time, charity is a basic requirement in Islam.
Definitely.
So be charitable.
I mean, look, I've got to be honest, okay? There's one thing that I love about our community, and that is the charity aspect, the big-heartedness. I mean, granted, throughout Ramzan, everyone gives, Muharram, all the months, okay? But when it comes to giving, from the charity fundraising that I've done, I've yet to meet bigger-hearted people than those that I've already met, in all honesty.
Yeah, I agree.
But this conversation started from jealousy.
Yes.
Okay? And jealousy is a big part of holding a grudge and, having this enmity with people, which is something you find in this community a lot.
That's right.
Now, I just wanted to bring in the hadith of Imam al Askari over here, where he says, the one who is nursing a grudge or enmity has the least of comfort in the world.
Yeah.
And that is something very, very rational. I mean, in any way you look at, a grudge or enmity, there is no way that brings you happiness.
No. You're just killing yourself on the inside.
It's amazing that people don't realize it. So initially that grudge may start because of various reasons, but it does poison you at the end. It will eat you up from inside because you don't realize what's happening. You'll just get more and more, poisonous, that it just eats you away. You'll start.
You're lying awake at night thinking, oh my God, look what he's doing. Why has he done that? Blah, blah, blah.
Well,
and the other guy's just sleeping there nice. Yeah.
But and just something as simple as letting it go.
Yeah.
Brings so much peace.
But let's be honest, it's easier said than done to let it go. And let's be honest, I've been in situations like that where I've not been able to let it go. Yet, and then that brings us to the point, okay? Forgive and forget. That's the saying we're all aware of, okay? I believe, personally, well, I don't think I believe, I would say that it's easier to forgive than it is to forget. Definitely. One should always forgive and look for the nice things that people do. But to forget any wrongdoing is also a mistake as well, because as human beings, we have to be intelligent to know that, okay, this is a situation that's happened, fine, it may have been a situation where the person may not have reacted properly, however, it still has happened. You can't just forget it. It's a learning point for yourself,
but
for ourselves, not to do that. You use it positively, but I do believe that you can't forget it. Yes, forgive them. Give them the benefit of doubt. But if you forget it, then you're forgetting a lesson that you've learned from that scenario.
Just to something to add on to that. And this is a beautiful thing I was discussing with the Sheikh earlier. And it is basically, there's nothing better than, let me introduce it with the fact that a majority of reasons behind a grudge and enmity is haqqun nas. Where someone has taken something of another person, or said something behind your back or something. That's haqqun nas, and Allah doesn't forgive haqqun nas until the person you've stolen that right from has forgiven him.
Okay. So in that case, then, Nazir, I forgive you for taking my milkshake when we went out to Oasis a few months back. I forgive you entirely.
Now,
I really don't mind. In fact, let me buy you another
In fact,
milkshake.
let me bump that up one. Imagine what's
Don't
better
look at me like that.
than to be able to say that, you know, Allah is the forgiver.
Mm.
He's the merciful. What's better than for me to say, oh Allah, because you're the forgiver, I forgive that person. And through your title of
I just said that.
and through your title as the forgiver, forgive my sins as well.
Mm,
And I'm
true.
sure that Allah will
Of course.
forgive
You see,
you.
the
Inshallah.
beauty about our beliefs, set of beliefs, is that if we ask for forgiveness with sincerity, Allah will forgive. Okay, that's a belief that we all share as Muslims, okay? But you can't, I've seen people use, I mean, basically, I know somebody that was like, he was drinking in that, right, okay? And he's like, and I was like, bro, what are you doing? He goes, I don't, Allah will forgive me, you know? But it doesn't work like
But
that.
again,
I
that's
think-
No,
not
but that
sincere.
goes
That's-
into the you know what tawbah is and
Exactly.
the other
There's
things.
etiquette
Well,
of
no,
it.
because
What, sorry to interrupt,
No, go.
but what I just wanted to say, okay, just to sort of sum everything up, okay, is I think that throughout the entire discussion that we've had, I think there are a few salient and relevant points, okay, that we can sort of end on, all right? And that is, A, be content with the life that you have. You know, you've got 2 arms, a body functioning, you know, alhamdulillah, yeah? Wife, kids, families all around you. Be happy with that, okay? Look to forgive people. And most of all, if you need to learn something, look at the Imams, look at the Ahlul Bayt, look at Rasul Pak, look to the Qurans, look to the Hadith, okay? To model ourselves in. And look, let's be honest, okay? Growing up in today's modern society, okay? It's not always that easy. Yes, we've got Google at our fingertips, but, you know, it's one thing to read something and it's another thing to be taught, you know, from those with knowledge. And I think, you know, it's important for those individuals, youngsters, everyone, and elders alike, ourselves as well, that when we don't understand something, go and speak to people that know about this, learn from them, talk to them, and most importantly is be a good Muslim, be yourself. And brothers and sisters, one thing that I would definitely recommend to all of you is that there are going to be problems and situations in this life where as human beings we don't know what to do, how to go about it. Always refer back and ask yourselves, what would the Imams do? What would Rasul Pak do? What would Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala do? Think to yourself, spend time. In fact, if you don't do this already, we should every night before we go to sleep spend a few minutes contemplating about our day and how we are actually, what we've done throughout the day, what we have achieved, what we could have done better. If we still aren't able to actually achieve a answer, speak to somebody with knowledge, speak to a friend, speak to an alim, speak to somebody around us. We're always going to have issues in this life and challenges that we come up against that we may not know the answer. Best thing you can do is hold up your hands. Ya Allah, help us in this time of needs. And with that, brothers and sisters, we'd like to wish you farewell. Khushali Mubarak. Remember us all in your du'as. And inshallah, we will see you soon. Khuda Hafiz.